Welcome back to the Big Idea to Bestseller podcast. We got one of our newest best-selling authors in the house, Shannon the Good Witch, also known as by her real name, Shannon Chavez. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Jake, thank you so much for having me. I'm just so grateful for you for, first of all, creating this space for us to talk, but also for publishing your first book and then 3 more after that and teaching me, to how to do the exact same thing. So I'm just so grateful for you and grateful to be here.
Awesome. Love the energy, and let's get into it because people need to know what Shannon the Good Witch is all about. So I want to just start right from the get-go here. How did your name become known as Shannon the Good Witch?
Oh my gosh. So I actually talk about this inside of my book, The Healthy High, How to Manifest an Ecstatic Life Without Burning Out. And as I just shared with you, as we were gearing up to record, my last name has always been something that's a little bit difficult for people to pronounce. And so as I was kind of starting to transform my brand, I had a business for a long time as a wedding videographer and portrait photographer. I was really wanting to shift into the coaching space. And I've always loved magic. I've always loved just manifestation and the idea that we as human beings with these really powerful minds have the ability to create the lives that we want. And so I really just love using magic as a tool to help people to open their minds to everything that's possible for them. And so Shannon the Good Witch is really just a fun way for me to kind of make a connection with people. Right off the bat, it kind of sparks a little bit of curiosity and it kind of just stuck and it flows off the tongue and it's easy for people to remember and for people to spell. And so it's a really easy way for new people that I meet, clients, friends, to find me on Instagram, to go to my website rather than saying Shannon Chavez and asking, how do you spell that? And having to remember it. Shannon the Good Witch just sticks, and it's just a quick, fun little way to introduce that I'm a lover of magic. And yeah, it's a big part of my life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Super side note before we talk all about the book. When it comes to magic, what's your favorite show or movie related to it?
Oh, Practical Magic has been like my favorite show for such a long, or favorite movie for such a long time. And I actually just heard, this could be a rumor, that they are doing like a second one, a sequel, and it's a super old movie. It's been around for a long time with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. So it would be really fun if they if they launched another
I love
one.
it. I love it. All right, let's talk about the book, okay? Talk to me about this. What did you decide to write the book as you were transitioning into doing more coaching, or had you already started coaching and said, you know what, I'm going to write a book now to expedite the success? When in your adventure did you decide to write the book, and why?
Wow. Well, I wanted to write the book and I wrote down the name, The Healthy High, and I started writing it in 2015, almost 9 years ago, when I was still a news anchor. And I was really kind of struggling to find the joy in that career. I went to college for broadcast journalism. I got a job as the morning anchor and reporter for a small town local TV news station right out of school. And I was there for almost 2 years, but I knew very quickly that I was not going to stick it out. But I was kind of still finding the positives, leaning into the opportunity. But I was working the night shift. I was making very little money, but I'd already known for a long time about manifestation, about magic. And so I really started diving deeper then in 2015 into the art of manifestation and doing more research and spending more time meditating on the idea that there was a career or a life waiting for me back in my hometown of Pittsburgh. And I just really wanted to be back in the city. I was really homesick and I was alone a lot of the time during my weird hours. I spent a lot of the daytime hours by myself. I worked overnight and it was tough to sleep. So I would meditate. I would listen to all kinds of cool books, and Deepak Chopra's Creating Affluence was one of them. The Master Key System from Charles Haanel. And so I decided then that I wanted to write a book. I saw this vision for sharing my story, for teaching all of the things that I was learning. However, I see now that I had a lot more lessons to learn, and I really needed to
Mm.
implement a lot of the things that I was learning and put them to use in my own life. And so it was always on my list. Every single year, my New Year's resolutions, this is the year I'm going to publish my book. But as I finally left my job, I came home to Pittsburgh. I started bartending, I started nannying. I had all of this extra time, and I was bringing my camera around places, and my business really just kind of grew organically. And I was starting to make money from photography, from video, and all of these other things. Whereas, like, writing my book wasn't making me any money yet, even though I had this big vision for it. And so I wasn't really taking the action. I was distracted by all of these other things. So long story short, I end up starting a really thriving business as a wedding videographer, super booked up, and eventually super burned out. And it was just a pattern in my life, always reaching these goals as a really ambitious action taker. And then at the end of the day, feeling like, why did I put in all of this work? I'm still not really feeling fulfilled. And so I finally started to create the space in my life for more of the things that were lighting me up. In 2022, I signed up for the Dharma Coaching Institute to get my coaching certification. And so after I graduated as a certified spiritual life coach and Dharma coach, I really started to feel confident in saying no to some of those other forms of income, invitations to shoot more weddings. And so the first step was really clearing the space for it. And then at the start of 2024, just at the start of this year, I signed up for something called the 30-day book writing challenge with Joshua Spragg. And in 30 days time, something that I had been working on for 8+ years, I had finally written a first draft of my manuscript. And then on February 13th, I signed up for Big Idea to Bestseller. And I came in with a manuscript that went through several transformations, having the guidance of coaches and just a team of professionals to really help me to get to the purpose of my
Yeah.
story and for sharing my story. And you guys have just really helped me to figure out how I can use this to not just sell a million books, but to reach the kind of people that I want to work with as a coach, to help people just by sharing my story and to kind of introduce myself and use it as a business card in a sense,
Yep. Yeah.
and it's just been a really, really fun experience. And it's wild to think that within 5 months time, just setting a goal and like asking for help and hiring a team of professionals helped this dream that was really just a dream become a reality way faster than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. What made you want to work with our team?
Wow. So I don't even know how you came into my life. I'm pretty sure that my very first business coach, Danielle Langton, had recommended you somewhere along the way. And I signed up for your email list. And for maybe 2 years, I had been receiving emails from you and always just thinking like, yes, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this at some point. And I didn't want to commit to something that I didn't quite have the time for. And so it was really once I finally created the space, I was able to say yes. And you were always there in the back of my mind. And I went on to your website and I looked at all of the ways that you would be able to help me. And then I scheduled a call. And during my very first introductory call with one of your team members, I just felt like this was the program for me. I had no doubt about it. And I signed up like that day with very little hesitation. I
Yeah.
was
And talk about this because you have been wanting to write this book. I mean, it's been a 10-year evolution. And then you come in with a manuscript and you're like, okay, let's finish this thing. Were you having different emotions throughout different stages as the cover design happened, as the editing came back, as we formatted, publishing, launching? Like, talk to me about how your emotions changed in a positive way over this time.
Well, so 2 days after I signed up for Big Idea to Bestseller, my dad passed away. And so that was a just wild, uh, you know, part of my story that I didn't even realize until just a bit of reflection, that my story wasn't complete. And so I ended
Mm.
up really finding so much purpose in my dad's death, but also just in his life, that really just I was able to channel all of that emotion that came up and find so much purpose in it by channeling it into my book. And that really was a huge evolution at the very beginning. And it was really a healing experience for me. I got to know myself so much better. I got to really reflect on my relationship with my dad. And so then actually finally sharing the changes and, you know, this really emotional, vulnerable story with Adrian, who was an amazing help for me. It was terrifying. It was really scary. I hadn't really shared my book with anyone leading up to that. And I had hardly read this like new version of it that I was submitting after, you know, collecting a lot of just notes and journal entries and kind of compiling them together. I had this whole new aspect of my story. And so that was a very emotional experience. And then I just had so much positive feedback, and I was then able to channel that into making it even better. And really just like knowing that there was someone out there that was meant to hear my story,
Yeah.
and finally getting some reassurance that what I had worked so hard to create, you know, was all right, you know, like I was getting some good feedback. I was feeling really good about it. And so that just kind of kept encouraging me to keep going. And I just trusted the process. And yeah, with the cover design, everything, like it was all just a very smooth and simple process. Like I had some visions, I had some ideas, but it just felt really good to be able to pass off some of those more technical research-based things. Like, I mean, just getting it uploaded onto KDP and all those things. I got to really focus on the creative writing and telling my story and making an impact, and just having fun with it, rather than all of the little details that could kind of get in the way of that and would have taken me forever. And maybe it never would have happened if I wouldn't have asked for help and tried to do all of that on my own.
Right, right. Now, your book is called The Healthy High, and it's all about how to build an ecstatic life without burnout, right?
Mhm.
Did you find yourself, you've talked a lot about making the space and then being able to commit and being able to do things. Did you find that through your book process, you got to practice some of the things that you talk about in the book?
Oh my gosh, for sure. I mean, really, the biggest piece of what I talk about in the book is that you don't have to be perfect, you know, to be a good person, to make a positive impact. And so, really letting go of a lot of my own perfectionism was a huge piece of, you know, how I was actually able to do this. I think as somebody who often changes my mind, I'm very multi-passionate, and I can get really excited about a new idea. I was able to kind of release this idea that this was the, you know, one big thing that I was supposed to do or that I was going to accomplish. And that now I realize, like, oh, I can always write another book and I can add more to the story. It's always going to be evolving. And so just kind of releasing that perfectionism. And another big thing is just about like creating healthy habits, and just making sure that I'm really clear on the purpose behind
Mm.
any action that I'm taking. And then it all just kind of comes really naturally when you have a clear purpose in mind, rather than just this like goal of like, oh, I'm just going to publish this book. I felt really excited to get up and write. I felt excited to share my story. And so I had the extra energy to do it. And I didn't feel burned out at all. It must have been the right decision.
Yeah, no, that's great. You mentioned a while ago manifestation, right? And seeing it, and you dug deep into all this and you learned so much about it, and you continue to learn all about this. How much, now that you're here, the book's in your hand, people are reading it all over the place. Like, how much of your manifestation of what you thought the feeling would be, or you thought your book would look like, or you envisioned it, right? Because like when we manifest something, you want to have extreme clarity about it, but you don't always know exactly how it's going to happen. You just have to trust and manifest and call it in.
Mhm.
How close is the feeling. It could be better, worse, exceeded expectations. How is that feeling related to now versus that 10-year ago manifestation that one day you'll have the book? Did it live up to your expectations now that you're here?
It feels so good, but it just feels like natural. I feel very relaxed. I feel very at ease. I feel even more confident in my manifestation power, in my power to create anything. Let me just think like really back to that like time. I think the biggest shift for me is that I used to kind of feel like I was pretending, like I was
Mm.
pretending that I believed it. And like you talk a lot about in manifesting, that belief, like creating a belief around what it is that you want, believing that it's not only possible, but believing that you already have it. And something kind of shifted in me through this process is now it's just a knowing. Like I don't have to cultivate this belief or even this like faith. It's just a knowing that everything that's happening now is leading to my highest good and the highest good of all. And there's so much less like resistance or even like a feeling of like having to do anything. Like I feel like I can just sit back and relax now. So it's not really what I imagined it would be in a lot of ways. It's better. It's easier. It just all feels very magical, very aligned, and yeah, it feels amazing.
One as more and more people read this book, and as people listen to this episode, they're gonna be like, wow, she's just so bubbly, she's so excited, she's so energetic, she's got positive mojo that I love. What what can we learn and expect to learn in the book that can really help us? Because I feel like you really embody what your book's all about, right? And that's a really important thing when it comes to being an author who's in integrity or being an author who has a book that's going to actually make a big difference. So, what are some of the things in your book that people can expect to learn when they go out and get it and read it?
That I'm not positive and happy and bubbly all the time. I would say that is probably the biggest thing that I've learned through my manifestation practice, just through life in general, is that you don't have to be positive all the time. You don't always have to have this happy, joyful persona to be able to like manifest the things that you really want. You are going to have all of the emotions. That's a part of the human experience. And that was something that I hid up for a really long time. I never felt like I could be vulnerable around people. I never felt like I could share the more difficult emotions. And for me, my writing practice has always been the place that I went to be able to kind of express some of those more difficult
Mm.
emotions. And so I would say that that's probably something that you're going to learn in the book that maybe even people that have known me my entire life wouldn't know that there's this other side to me, and we all are going to have days where things feel really hard. And, there are going to be difficult things that we go through, but it's just about finding the joy and being able to celebrate even those difficult moments because they're a big part of your story. And who knows, someday might be the cornerstone of your best-selling book. And so just being able to lean in to all of those different emotions, all of those experiences, and realizing that it's also okay to change your mind. It's okay to pivot and like getting to the bottom of what you actually want rather than just those kind of surface level goals, figuring out at the end of the day, what is it that you really want? How do you want to feel? How do you want to help people? And realizing that you can do that and that you're already doing that just by being yourself and allowing people to see all of the different sides of you. And the more vulnerable that I've been able to be, the more I've been able to open up, the more I've been able to really connect with people, to resonate and to learn who I am and what I want. And that's just such a big piece of the process. And what I hope people take away from the book is that you don't have to be perfect to be a good person. You don't always have to be positive. And also, like, there's going to be some negative thoughts and things that creep in, but I hope that my book helps to create a really simple and practical way to come home to the
Mm.
powerful being that you are and help you to remember that. And so I talk a lot about the phases of the moon in the second part of the book. That's something that I learned about just a few years ago. And when I learned what they symbolize in magical practices, it gave me this kind of way to incorporate my practice of manifestation into my everyday life. And so during the full moon, I love just celebrating wherever I'm starting out, whatever it is that I'm going through. When the moon starts to get smaller in the sky, when it's waning, I start to release anything that's not serving me, clear the way for new growth. During the new moon, when the moon is dark in the sky, I love that time for just reflection, for connecting back to my highest self, to the vision of that highest version of me and that most abundant life, and letting those ideas just kind of come through. And then when the moon is waxing, when it's growing in the sky, taking that aligned, brave action and recognizing that it's never going to be just this one-time process. You're going to do this again and again and again. And so it's a very cyclical process. Things aren't going to change overnight. If you want to see transformation in your life, you're going to have to kind of create these consistent practices. And so the moon can just kind of serve as a reminder. You don't have to totally align your life with the phases of the moon or anything like that, but just having those reminders kind of makes all of these ideas and concepts more natural. Like once you learn to kind of look to the sky and see those the changing faces of the moon, it reminds you to just kind of check back in with your practice, and hopefully down the road, you don't even have to think about it anymore. It's just natural.
Wow. Wow. So much stuff in there. So much. Everyone get the book. Everyone get a copy of the book. But it's so true though. The part that, I mean, there was a lot of parts that resonate with me, but one of them was the concept of you're not always going to be bubbly and energetic and happy. And I think that that's something that like we get wrong a lot of times, right? Is we think we have to be a certain way. Or we see people on social media and we're like, we look up to them and we say, well, they're that way. Well, they're, first of all, social media, they might just be that way because it's social media. But even if you know them, they're not always that way, right? And I think that it's so important when you're creating your life and designing your life is to recognize that not every day is going to be a good day. That's okay. But if you can make and find the good in every day, that's going to help you lead to a more happy, more fulfilled, more exciting life. And it's that frame of reference. It's that perspective. It's that way of looking at things a little bit differently and releasing the pressure of the expectation of perfection. And so I really like how you broke that down. And I think people are going to learn a lot about that in your book.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and just to kind of clarify, the first half of the book is really a lot about all of the teachable moments, all of
Yep.
the stories, and pieces of my life that led me to this practice. And the second half is really about, there's still a lot of stories in there, but it's really just more about how to incorporate these practices into your daily life. And so that was something that changed very close to wrapping up. Like after a few rounds of editing, I decided to kind of break it up into two parts. And it's wild how much of an evolution a book can go through, but it does feel complete. And, I wasn't sure at first, but now that people are reading it and we hit bestseller in multiple categories, I don't think people are lying to me. I think they're actually enjoying it. At least I hope so.
Yeah. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. All right. You mentioned you hit bestseller in multiple categories. Let's talk about the launch. Okay. Now, I think if my timeline is accurate, you were at a festival the week leading up to your launch. Okay. So you talk about living in a static life, right? Without burnout. And here you are, you're going to a festival, a music festival. Looked awesome, by the way. The week leading up to your launch. What was going through your head at that time? What made you feel that you could do both? Was it your celebratory gift for the timeline, and then you were going to go into launch mode? What was it? Because a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I have to spend every single moment waiting and getting ready for it. And you're over here living a full life and then launching a best-selling book, selling tons of copies, and people all over the country getting access to the book, even potentially the world. So Walk me through what was going through your head and how you were able to do that so that you could have fun in your life and also still crush your lunch.
So I go to this journaling circle every Sunday morning. It's a virtual circle. My friend Clarice Fern, who actually painted the artwork for the cover of my book, hosts these magic journaling society circles every Sunday morning. And so a week before launch, or right before I left for Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival, during her journaling circle, she asked a question. She said, like, what is something that you can do this week to like prepare? I can't remember exactly what the question was, but essentially I had this realization: I've never been so prepared for anything in my whole life. And there was so much preparation and guidance from my team that just made me feel like I could totally go to this festival and check out and do a digital detox and not look at my phone. And I have so many tools as a business owner that allow me to automate and schedule things. And so I had all of my emails written, and they were scheduled out, and I knew that I would be getting home the night before launch. And so I thought, you know what, like, people know what to do. I told them what to do. I actually ended up bringing 30 copies of my book to Bonnaroo and passing them out to all of these people who are like my ideal clients, and all of these people that are just so magical and that I would love to share my story with. And so just being there and dancing under the waxing moon, I was just like really leaning into this manifesting power and just trusting the process and realizing, I've done everything that I can. And at this point, it's kind of out of my hands. The book is up. People had already bought it. I posted a video of opening my first few copies, and people accidentally went and bought it. I didn't mean to have anybody go and buy it. I was trying to tell them to wait until launch day. And so I'm like, you know what? Like, it's happening. It's working. I might as well go and enjoy myself, take this kind of a productive vacation, in the sense that I imagine that the people that go to Bonnaroo or go to a music and arts festival are the kinds of people that are going to love my book. And I visualize down the road maybe popping up at festivals like that, being a vendor, sharing my book there. And so that was initially, like, way back at the beginning when I bought the Bonnaroo ticket. I was like, oh, I'm going to use this in cooperation with my launch. I ended up just totally taking a vacation and celebrating and dancing my butt off. And it just felt really good. And I came home on launch day, or the night before launch day, and I was pretty tired. And so I didn't like do a whole lot of like individual reach outs or anything. I posted a video of my hair all a mess, and I was still laying in bed, and it all worked. But thanks to you and our team, I felt the confidence to be able to do that and to trust that everything was happening. And, Mikey, who was really like going in and figuring out what categories to put the book in and everything, she was working for me. And so there's just really something powerful in asking for help and not feeling like you
Yeah.
have to do everything yourself.
Yeah. And I got to give you credit. I mean, that is another just great example of how you live what you write about, right? And it's so cool to hear you talk about that. The fact that, we had taken care of you up to that point. We got you the right materials, and then you did the work. You were prepped. You felt ready to go, right? And you launched the thing. It's been successful, and now you get to use it in so many different ways, right? Like, the launch is just the beginning of the next adventure, right? And that's so fun. So I want to kind of wrap up here with this, and kind of a reflection question for you. Your book's out. You have unlimited potential with it, unlimited possibilities. What are some of the wins, either internally or externally, you've already started to experience since the book's come out?
Well, just feeling so loved and supported by the right people. I knew that there were going to be things I talk about in this book that some people weren't going to resonate with. And being able to overcome that and to realize that I can't please everybody has just shown me that when you can put yourself out there like that, and you can, open yourself up to judgment, on the other side of that, you're going to receive so much love and support from the people that you're meant to connect with, your people, the ones who love you no matter what, unconditionally. And so that is number one, biggest win. But I've already just been able to shift from this idea that has been on my mind for almost 10 years and to realize like, oh my gosh, there's so much more out there. This isn't the end all be all. And now I'm ready to move on and move forward with this momentum and with this clarity and with this confidence that everything that I thought was true is actually true. And I want to be able to help other people do the same thing and just create more ease and flow and confidence in every decision that they make. And it's always going to be okay to change your mind. It's okay if I said something in this book that a few years down the road, I don't agree with anymore, I don't align with anymore. I can always continue to come back and share more of my story and share more of what I've learned. And it's all wins.
Amazing. I always tell people this is that you don't need everybody to like you. You just need the right people to love you. And that is exactly what you're talking about here. And when you write a book, the book shouldn't be for everybody. The book should not be for everybody. The book should be for the people who are ready to receive it and who need what you have to offer. And that's what makes your book different than everyone else's book, because you put your spin on it. You made it unique. Not everyone's going to like it. Not everyone's going to want to read all the pages, but the right people are going to read it. They're going to love it. They're going to love you, and they're going to want more of it. So for everyone that is wanting to get the book and wanting to read it and learn more about you, how do we get the book? How do we follow you? How do we work with you? Tell us where to go.
The easiest place is to go to shannonthegoodwitch.com. And if you want to go straight to the page about the book, it's shannonthegoodwitch.com/thehealthyhigh. And everything that you need to know is there. You can get the link to Amazon, to the book on Amazon. You can get it right now for Kindle and in a paperback copy. I am also giving away a free copy of the book to anybody that signs up for my email list. I'm not sure if that will change down the road, so take advantage of it right now if you want to read it. But I would absolutely love if you read it and you love it and you think that there's somebody that this is going to make an impact in their life, please pass it along to them as well. I want to share it with as many people as possible. I didn't want to just write this book for me, even though it's really powerful for me to just read back the messages that came through from my highest self, because like we said, I am not always that highest version of myself, but I want as many people to get this book as possible. I know that there are people that it's going to be able to help. And so you can also follow me on Instagram at Shannon the Good Witch. And yeah, I'd say that's it. That's the way to do it. And if you go to my website, you can book a free discovery call with me as well.
Cool. Like giving a lot of goods out. We love it. We'll get it all linked up so that people can go to the website, download get the free book by joining your email list, getting a call with you for free. I mean, that's amazing, right? So thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for such great offers to everybody who's listening to this. I really enjoyed this interview. I enjoyed watching you from behind the scenes on this process that you went on. It was so fun to get all the updates and to book this interview with you now that you're done. I mean, it's been amazing. So thank you for coming on the show.
Jake, thank you so much. And just something that came through that I didn't say before, you asked what was it about Big Idea to Bestseller that made me sign up? And it was it was your vibrant energy. And when I went to the website and I saw some of your videos sharing your message, it's your confidence and your vibrant energy. And you made me believe in myself. And I think a lot of the time it's easier to see potential in others, and we can't always see that in ourselves. And so you made it possible for me to believe that publishing a best-selling book was also possible for me. So thank you so much. Thank you for
means the world. Mean the world. So everyone, if you've enjoyed this episode and you want to live an ecstatic life without burnout, go grab a copy of Shannon's book, The Healthy High. And here's my challenge to everybody that's listening. Obviously, I want you to go grab a copy of the book. That's challenge one. But the other challenge that I want you to think about is, where in your life Where in your life are you trying to be perfect where you really just need to be? Where in your life are you trying to be perfect where you really just need to be? And I want you to think about that. And my challenge to you is to ask yourself that question, sit with that question, and then share your responses with us, because we would love, love, love to see how you are living a healthy and high life. So that's what I got for y'all today. We'll see you on the next one.